Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 8th edition of French-Serbian Rendezvous. We will speak English this day, not because we don't want to ignore the fact that cinema was invented in France, but to make things more international, let's speak English. Yeah, I am trying to be polite, but probably it's not possible. My name is Miroljuba Vučkovića. I am ancient. I am working for Film Center Serbia, and more than 40 years I was active in a field of documentation, promotion, advising, and now as an ancient man I am advising Film Center Serbia for international projects and activities and presence, and also as I completely know that the time of me I give you, you receive, orphanage is long time ago gone, and we are building partnership. In that sense, this discussion today dedicated to legislation and harmonization of audiovisual field is very important for us, not only because we are small, we have France among us as invented cinema and also the leading country in the audiovisual legislation, but I would like to say first some technical information, and then I will try to navigate you to this today panel. Technical limit is don't touch the switch off, switch on light. One limit is another. Another limit is we must be over around 2 p.m., I mean 1400 hours, because the lunch will be served in Lisbon restaurant or cafe or the basement of this building. And the third one is that we will try to speak less than 7 minutes each, because Dieter Kostlik, I am quoting him today twice, said if somebody is talking publicly more than 7 minutes, nobody is listening. Everybody thinks about sex, but you know, in different levels. The next not limit but proposal is, because we are dealing with very not easily palpable matters, because for me, I started as an amateur, somebody who likes cinema, and I am ending my career as bureaucracy. And I am very happy that we have representative of creative bureaucracy from France. Only one country in Europe can say that they have creative bureaucracy, which is France. We are little bureaucrats, and I would like to propose to speak with the limited vocabulary of English. 400 words will be enough. Why? Because Albert Einstein, he traveled by boat to United States of America to present his theory of relativity with only 400 words in vocabulary. Because legal matters are something very, very difficult to touch, to enter, if you're not an expert. In that sense, I think we will try to put Gogol in the people, as Russians say, to be more simple. This navigation is in few levels. We have 3 wonderful panelists, and we have very good gender balance, because Frederic Cornet and moi, we are males, and we have Leticia Kulik, Regional Audiovisual Attaché, French Embassy in Belgrade, which is very nice. Thank you very much. Welcome. And unfortunately, Žuli-Žan Reno, Secretary General of FEFAD, very important body in Europe, which associates directors of European film agencies, is not among us physically, but spiritually and visually she is present. Thank you, Žuli-Žan, for being ready to be with us. I must turn to say hello to you like this. Again, about this navigation, we will have a few, I would like everyone to present himself, herself, to say a few words of activities and also some private things regarding cinema and how it's attractive and if cinema really needs legislation. And also, I would like to ask Leticia to tell us something about the French model of cinema, which was invented after Second World War. But you know, let's start with presentation. Please, Leticia.
Hello, everyone. So I have the challenge to speak in less than 7 minutes. So to quickly introduce myself, I have been studying cinema and cultural and film policies. I made a PhD about cultural identities and the concept of nationalities applied to film policies, and more specifically in Nordic countries and European Union. I worked then in the National Film Center in France, working mostly with exhibitors and distributors for 5 years, more or less. Then as a coordinator of the media program for Europa Cinemas for about 4 years. Then I left to the French embassy in Athens, where I was audiovisual attaché for 4 years. I came back to France a few years ago to work in a script writers union, defending the rights of writers in audiovisual, animation and cinema, until I came here to Belgrade last September. So here I'm working with audiovisual in general for the whole Western Balkans, and also I also work on the question of medias and disinformation. So to talk quickly about the French position regarding audiovisual laws, indeed France was one of the first to create a foreign culture ministry. At this period, cinema was not included in the cultural ministry, but it was part of the industry ministry. So we still have this debate within the sector whether cinema is an art or an industry. Not now it's acknowledged that it's part of both. So when we are talking about art house cinema, of course, we are more talking about culture, but then when we talk about blockbusters, we are, of course, referring more of cinemas as an industry. Within this frame, indeed, France has, because of his history and heritage in cinema, created a very comprehensive and detailed system through the CNC, which was created much after the culture ministry, to organize the whole sector. So the CNC, it's about 500 people working in all sectors, from
600 million euro.
700. It has perhaps lowered a little bit because of the crisis, but indeed. And those subsidies come from the Ministry of Culture, but also from special tax on cinema tickets, which is re-injected into cinema production. And also, as we will see with the Directiva on audiovisual media services, all the contribution of operators and platforms nowadays, TV at also back in time and still nowadays, but which part now is decreasing. So this whole system of financing the field makes that France is still able nowadays to create, to produce more than 200 films a year. So this is always a kind of question in France. This system is, of course, very much criticized. Do we need that many movies? Do we need to be quantitatively so important and perhaps in spite of the quality? So a lot of questions, but the field is very dynamic, and there are always a lot of unions complaining and asking for more or different kind of systems and so on. But in the end, and regarding the directive, for example, and its implementation, France was used very much as a model, for the European Union to create this directive and to make it as precise, up to date, and including all kind of sectors, platforms, and so on. So that this directive does not only include VOD platforms, but also all social networks where you can see videos and content online. And its aim was mainly, to go a little bit wider on the topic, to protect young audience, because indeed, at the time, there were like TV coming on the market, then video and so on. A lot of way of diffusing films which were not the original ones. So that VOD platform entered in the landscape, as well as social medias, and things that couldn't be expected even just a few years ago. So that the aim with this directive is mostly to protect young people, to avoid the propagation of violent or terrorist messages, for example. It's also to have a kind of common and a common legislation at European level, because now, I mean, with the European Union, we can see that even if national laws are dominating, even at European level, the market is global, and with the co-production and all partnerships films require nowadays because of financial cost and so on, we cannot consider the market only at a national level. You have to stop me if I go above 7 minutes.
Thank you very much for your offer. Thank you very much.
Because I don't have any clock.
No,
so
I will come back to have a closer look to many things you said already. Julie-Jeanne, please, it's your turn.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me, and so sad not to be with you in beautiful Belgrade. Actually, I wish I can come next time. That would be a real pleasure. Yes, indeed, I'm the Secretary General of this European Association that brings together 37 national film and audiovisual centers. And Laëtitia was speaking brilliantly about my French member, the CNC, but I have 36 other amazing organizations in this unique association, because we are bringing together these public institutions that are helping and promoting cultural diversity. So if you want me to speak with always the same language and the same words, I will use cultural diversity a lot, because this is what we believe in, and this is what all our organizations are standing for at national level and all together. And it's interesting because Laëtitia was saying, well, Sensei, you were mentioning Miroljuba, like 700, 600 million for the budget. Actually, it's a family with a lot of different characters. We have, let's say, small film and audiovisual centers with an annual budget of around even less than 2 million euros, up to indeed more than 600 million. In 2021, it was 625-ish for France, but Italy was above that. And you have other countries that have extremely high resources. You have other ones that are struggling to secure good budget at national level, and with more or less success. And I'm here to tell you how important it is that you secure a good budget for your national film and audiovisual centers that helps to promote the creativity, independent production, and the unique voices of your creators in different languages. So it's very crucial, and these bodies, they get different sources of financing. Most of the time, they are financed by the budget of the state. With, I guess, Miroljuba, you correct me if I'm wrong, it's the case of Serbia. You don't have a levy system, such as in the CNC. Laëtitia explained that actually the CNC has a lot of money because they take from the theaters, the channels, the VOD services, a little share that then they redistribute to the sector. And actually, the CNC is far now from being the only one. And more countries are developing this model of having stable and sustainable resources. Because don't forget that actually film and audiovisual centers are here to support creation, but also to support all the creators in times of crisis, thinking COVID, thinking inflation, etc. So having a stable budget for them is extremely important. Let me just say a word about this directive that Laëtitia mentioned. We call it the IVMS directive. You don't need to know how it's called. The most important thing is that you remember that it's a crucial text for cultural diversity. We have been lobbying for this text for months and years, and the story will again begin soon, because there will be a revision probably around after 2026. Why it's a very important text? Because this text says that all online services, you know that now the market is very much also online through the non-linear services. I will not name them all, but you know the Netflix, the Amazon, the Disney Plus, etc. And they are having a huge market power. And this, we wanted to oblige them to show a minimum share of European works. So we managed to have this obligation at European level of a 30% European works. It's extremely important for cultural diversity. It has been adopted, but as we see it implemented, we are a bit disappointed. Because actually, these big streamers, they buy mostly from the biggest countries. So when you look at in the 30%, what kind of works are being exposed and promoted, you don't see a lot of works from, let's say, the small countries, the smaller territories. And this is where we want to infuse more cultural diversity into the quota. They also have the obligation to promote, to make some promotion and visibility of that works. And then the other big novelty, and then I will stop, is about the levy system and the financial obligations. As I mentioned, you have several countries that are taking levies or imposing direct investment obligation. And before this directive, they could only do it to their local domestic players. But thanks to the directive, now they can also ask these big US streamers that are not necessarily established in their respective countries to also be subject to financial obligations. And currently, 17 European countries are implementing one or the other form of financial obligation. A financial obligation is either a levy or a direct investment obligation. A direct investment obligation is the fact that these companies, these players, have to invest a share of their turnover into European works. You can choose either levy or direct investment obligation, or you can be even more ambitious and decide to apply both options cumulatively. And this is the case in France, but not only in France. You have 4 countries that are asking these VOD services in particular, both to contribute to the film fund and to directly invest into European works. And this is the case of France, I mentioned it, Croatia, Portugal, and more recently, Denmark. The others from the 17th are choosing between levy or direct investment obligation, but they have all implemented this kind of system. I think in Serbia, we are not there yet, but this is a reflection that should really be developed and elaborated, because I see a trend that is a never-ending one where every country has to find a way to make these new players contribute to the renewal of creation. And it's not only about forcing them to invest, it's about they have to invest also into independent productions, into works where European independent producers keep some rights in their pocket. So it's a very crucial provision, and I wanted to develop a little bit on that, but because Laëtitia already mentioned the French case, and it's interesting to see that it's not an isolated case at all. So this has been a very important dossier file for the IFAD collectively, this AVMS directive. It's not the only one, and if you give me again the floor later, Miroljuba, I would be happy to develop on the current fight we're having on geo-blocking, which is one of the reasons I cannot be with you today. I would be very happy to elaborate on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Merci, Julie-Jeanne. Frederic Cornet is managing and artistic director of Cinema Galeries in Brussels, but also he's member of the board of directors of Europa Cinema and Cine Europa. 2 bodies, and you are from the field. You are not looking from above like we in film agencies or film centers or in Ministry of Culture, but we need something like very expressive information about your experience in the field, from the field.
Hello everyone. So yes, I've been working at Cinema Galeries for 10 years, and I joined the board of directors of Europa Cinemas last year. I'm here to talk about the support of media through Europa Cinema and to see how we can help exhibitors to promote European film. So maybe just to tell you that in Serbia we are present in 9 cities, 15 cinemas, and 34 screens. There's 10 single screen, which is like only cinema with a single screen, and through the programming, those kind of cinema can have up to 15,000 euros. There is many things that we propose at Europa Cinema to support all the members of the networks. For instance, we have the programming support, which if you program enough European film, you would get the money through that. But we have also like the possibility to help you to connect with the different exhibitors in in Europe to the lab, the innovation lab that we create, and we propose to the exhibitors to come together. We have also implemented during the COVID, and I was part of the person who wrote the guidelines, the Collaborate to Innovate, and it's really important project that the Europa Cinema is launching, is basically exhibitors that goes together at the national level or international level to propose something to gather more people, to reach a different audience, and to reach a younger audience as well. So there is actually two Collaborate to Innovate in the 2023 support. So there is actually this cinema here where we are now, the MST Dvorna, that got the support for Eurofest, for Eurokids Fest. So it's a project that where they decided actually to reach the younger audience, so they would dub the film, and then afterwards working with this distributor for animation film, they would be dubbed by the young, the children. It's going to be interesting to see how we can include younger audience through that, and then afterwards with the distribution, propose it all around Serbia. And there was also another project in the frame of Collaborate to Innovate, which is I think beautiful, is to do workshop with teenagers so they understand how cinema works, and they can create also films through a mobile phone. So this is the two projects. Those two projects are with cinema in the north of Serbia, in Subotica, Palić, but also in the south, and reaching all the countries. So that's something that is actually beautiful. But do you want me to talk about the other support, because we have many things that we are online? So thanks to the Innovation Lab, we identified some needs country by countries, and it's important to know that we are working right now on proposing trainings, especially with the needs of the country. So for instance, we will launch some boot camps that will help directly with the needs of the countries. I've been in Romania recently, and they said, like, we are struggling with the projectionists and we don't know how to help them, and we need to have a proper training. And this is the kind of thing, identifying what is the need depending on the country, and then afterwards proposing a proper training that's going to be so something that would actually more professionalize the work also in different countries.
Can you please tell us the difference between Europa Cinema and Cine Europa? It's one question. Another question is audience development to pay ticket for cinema, and this attractiveness of platforms, how to survive. It is a permanent battle, or it's a kind of game, or who's gonna win?
Thank you so much for this question. So, Cine Europa and Europa Cinemas are totally two different things. One is a platform, a media that talks about the industry and the films, European industry and films. So this is Cine Europa. And Europa Cinema is a network of exhibitors that has got supported by media and the European Commission through media, and it's a direct support to the exhibitors. So it's absolutely two different things. Me, I'm helping Cine Europa to have also more information about the reality of exhibitors in Europe. This is what I do for Cine Europa, and for Europa Cinema is to think how we can help exhibitors all around Europe. That's one thing. The second thing, you talk about the platform, and you talk about what is how we can imagine like the limited subscription for a platform, for instance, and the cinema. I really thank you for this question, because we launched an unlimited subscription for the cinema so people can go to cinema. It's a project that was created 15 years ago in the Netherlands, and we decided to launch it thanks to Collaborate to Innovate in Belgium last year. It's absolutely incredible. So it's basically all the artists, independent cinema, that decided to go together to have an unlimited pass for their audience, and we see that thanks to that we reach a younger audience. So the people that go more often to the cinema are 24 years old, where usually we tend to have like older people going to the cinema. Thanks to unlimited pass, we see that we have a younger audience which is more curious about the film. They go to see smaller films, and so I think that or we can see the unlimited subscription to a platform, and or we can just adapt this kind of unlimited subscription also to art or cinema. is something that has been really fruitful for us. We see that in the Netherlands it has been working so much in the last 15 years to have like a network of cinema that is impressive. But like we started last year, in June 2022, we have 7,000 subscribers. We are reaching also more cinemas in Belgium. We started in Brussels. Now we have 3 more cinemas in Wallonia, and the goal is to reach all Belgium. But the further goal, so if we want to go a little bit further, as we work with the same technology as Cineville in the Netherlands, our aim is to also connect the countries together and have an unlimited pass for Europe. And this is the next step that we are building. So right now we launched in June in 2022 in Belgium. Austria was launched in March 2023. In the Collaborate to Innovate 2023, Germany is supported to launch the same card, and we will all work with the same technology. Italy will join soon. So this possibility of having this unlimited subscription for the cinemas is something that is of course in our mind. And yeah, so it's people will still go on the platform, but they love to go to the cinema, and all we create to facilitate the possibility to go in the cinema room is really important, yes.
And where is the key? I will quote again Dieter Kostlik, who said, in the chain of film production, only one element is not supported by funds, the cinema goers. Viewers are not paid to pay ticket to go to cinema. It's very frustrating, but it's the truth, you know, because we, Film Center Serbia, is supporting script writing, script development, project development, production, promotion, etc., cinema theaters, but you know, this audience development has to be paid or has to be organized with another way of payment.
Well, I think like culturally they get a lot. I mean, they get nourished by the film that they manage to see, but then it goes everywhere. Like if you buy a book, should you be paid to read a book? And I think it's important to value actually to the will to go somewhere and to watch film. But we have also lots of incentive to keep the prices quite low for independent cinema regarding to multiplexes with more I don't know, like mainstream films. We manage through the support of Europe to keep also the price of the ticket quite okay, and the subscription that I mentioned is also something that would like you pay once a month and then you can go as much as you want to the cinema. This is amazing. So I'm not sure that we should pay people to go to the cinema, because I think the best thing is also to engage them to just like, yeah, spend some money and knowing why to do that.
Thank you. I think that now we can say a few words about the percentage of national cinema and European cinema in theaters. Do you have these facts in France? France is very well in this field, I think.
Actually, in the National Film Center Statistics Service would certainly have it, but also Europa Cinemas, because the support for programming is based on that. So you have a whole vision of which films are exhibited from how many nationalities, but Frederic will talk much more precisely now about that, because I left the structure now more than 8 years ago. But there were also a bonus on diversity, which would prevent one of the problems Julie-Jeanne mentioned about the diversity on the platform, so that indeed, if the criteria to reach diversity is to screen 6 or 7 different nationalities, it doesn't include all the diversities of all the European Union countries, and even extended beyond the European borders. So that this diversity criteria is a criteria which is very complicated, because we can talk about genre of topics, kind of languages also, which are talked in films. So there are a very long list of criteria. And the first one, of course, is the nationality. But the concept of nationality is also something tricky because of co-production, as I mentioned also, because you can have films like Harry Potter, for example, which would be considered as British films, so that you would get a point as European nationalities back in time when the UK was still in the European Union. But this film, for example, would qualify for a European nationality. So there are these questions which are like underlying that we don't often tackle, because it's complicated between the cultural aspect we expect to find in a film if I go to see a French film, I have some expectation about what is behind. And the concept as it is applied, because the criteria of nationalities is definitely applied just by the financing of the film, which is totally not visible for the cinema goer.
Thank you. Julie-Jeanne, EFAD is also taking care about admissions and the percentage of national and European cinema in theaters.
What do you mean taking care of?
I mean, do you have any statistic or list, or are you following this data?
So actually, we are very lucky in Europe because we have the European Audiovisual Observatory. So we are a very small staff at EFAD, and we do mainly advocacy work. But at European level, there have a team of 40 people doing this publication on the number of admissions in theaters, but also the performance online, how the market evolves, and all kinds of reports on the market and legal side. So really have a look at the European Audiovisual Observatory, because these are amazing resources there. They have a special database, which is called Lumière, where you can find title by title the number of admissions in the different countries. They also have, for VOD services, a tool that I really recommend. It's called Lumière VOD, because actually nowadays we shouldn't just look at the performance of a film in theater. We know that theater is the most important window, because this is where all the promotion starts. This is where you build the audience. That's why we care so much about supporting cinemas in Europe, and everything that Frederic has been saying, the initiative of the cinema card, we can call it like this, Cinéville, is amazing, the work of Europa Cinemas, and we continue to believe that this should be the core of the attention of the National Film Fund. It's so strategic, but at the same time, we need to take into account how films are performing online. Are they visible? Are they promoted? Are they simply findable online? And if they are online, available, how much? And this is another extremely tricky question. What is the viewing data? Because we can have this transparency for theaters. So I will know exactly how much in Belgium a certain film has had in terms of admissions. I will never know how much viewer it has had online, because they don't share these platforms the data. This is another big struggle we have at European level, to impose transparency on viewing data. But at least thanks to Lumière VOD, coming back to the second platform, second database from the European Audiovisual Observatory I mentioned earlier, thanks to Lumière VOD, you can at least know whether the film is available in Serbia, in Romania, online. And this is an objective that we should also pursue. For kind of classic films in particular, we should make sure that they are easily accessible in all European countries. We want to have more European films from more countries available online everywhere, after having had a successful release in theaters.
Thank you. We invited also Suzanne Nikolchev from European Film Observatory, but unfortunately she has to attend several meetings today, and she was unable to join us even online. I ask you about the percentage, because after COVID in Serbia we had extremely wonderful percentage, 39.6% audience share was Serbian cinema, and usually it's about 20%. It is not like in France, but we are very high in Europe. People, they want to see films. After COVID, we had 2 mega hits. They had more than 1 million ticket sales sold in Serbia and neighboring countries. That's why I ask you, I wanted to say something pro domo sua, to say that we are proud because our audience is watching domestic films. Regarding another thing which we are pretty proud is Balkan countries, or Western Balkan, or Southeast European countries. We cooperated very fruitfully in the past. After terrible wars and misunderstandings, let's be polite, we introduced introduced the common pavilion in Cannes, 8 countries together. Also, we learned a lot from Scandinavian and Baltic countries because they also had quarrels, but they stopped in the early 50s, and they are leading in, let's say, this multi-national cooperation. That's why I am proud to inform you that recently in Tallinn, we were invited 2 years ago to make focus on Serbian cinema after great UK and Israel. And one reason is because we are not very shy, we are a bit modest and a bit poor. We invited our neighboring countries like Slovenia, Croatia, North Macedonia and Montenegro to join us, and we had wonderful focus which was presented in the official program, 13 feature films and 10 films from the past, famous Black Wave, which is completely unknown in Baltic countries. 10 projects and bunch of short films were presented in the frames of this focus. We made it, and it was really nice to show that we have something to show. But the initial idea was to show idea that directors, the heads of film centers, Slovenia, Croatia, Montenegro, Serbia, and North Macedonia, they wanted to harmonize the calendar of minority film co-production contents, also to try to make balance between reciprocity and objectivity, because if one Serbian film is supported in Slovenia, Slovenians won't expect that one Slovenian will be supported in Serbia. This was a platform, and we came pretty proud from Tallinn. I forgot to say this thing in the beginning, but now we have two, let's say, one warm and one hot subject we can discuss. One warm is this audiovisual services which 5 countries from neighboring countries, they didn't still sign. And I wanted to ask you to briefly to tell me what do you think, what is the reason? You're not representing Serbia, Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, but anyhow, looking from above, what is your opinion about that? And then, because EFAD was mentioned in communiqué sent by European Film Promotion Organization regarding the initiative of changing geo-blocking regulation. I would like to ask Julie-Jeanne to tell us something after you speak about this.
Yeah, so this is quite a difficult question because all the markets are different, but I guess one of the main reasons is the level of details which are included in this directive. Because when we see France was, of course, quite quick to implement the directive. I mean, just 2 months after it was officially implemented, it was ratified and applied in the French law. But also because most of the aspects, as I said, were already in the French law, so that they were like minimal adaptation to it, let's say. In other countries, I mean, even countries which are fully part of the European Union and for quite a long time and which are benefiting from European programs and so on, it's much more difficult because their way, I mean, until implementing totally the directive, even if, of course, there is a kind of flexibility, you are not obliged to implement it strictly point by point, but to adapt to the content, in fact, in your national law. So this is quite difficult because perhaps you don't have the structure, your system is not developed or detailed yet enough, and also because your audiovisual landscape can be quite different. So, of course, for big countries where platforms are very important and weighting a lot in the economy, a lot of things were already thought before. In other countries where this is not a priority, where in the field there are other priorities to deal with, okay, this can also wait. So I guess those are some of the reasons. There are certainly a lot of other ones.
Thank you very much. Frederic?
Really, honestly, I don't have the expertise to respond to this question.
Okay, then Julie-Jeanne, it's your turn now, please.
Well, I just wanted to come back to the geo-blocking discussion that you mentioned. And indeed, tomorrow there are going to be a gathering of filmmakers in the European Parliament It's something we are extremely involved in, and we informed the EFP. We try to convince the EFP to be also active, and the same with EFA, European Film Academy. The topic is going back to the European Parliament. You know that currently you can continue to exploit territory by territory, the films, for example. But the European Parliament says that there is an issue because online there are barriers, obstacles to access because of these territorial exploitations. You cannot, from Belgium, access a Serbian online service. It's geo-blocked. And we think it's important to have this geo-blocking because European films are financed country by country in exchange of some geographical exclusivity. And they are also distributed country by country with the subtitles and the curation and the promotion. So for European works, we really believe that geo-blocking is still necessary to preserve these exclusivities. But the European Parliament, of course, they are very interested in hearing certain lobbyists saying, well, we want to have a general access from wherever you live, because this is Europe. Europe should be a world without frontier. So we agree that we want more European films everywhere online, but we don't agree about removing this geo-blocking possibility. And it's difficult to explain, and even here, you know, I'm taking a lot of time, but not a lot of time, because you know how the film industry works. You know how we finance and distribute a European film. But when you talk to MEPs, you have to explain the entire ecosystem, and it takes a lot of time. While it's easier and simplistic to say, well, let's remove everything. And we think that if you remove geo-blocking, it would be of the advantages of the US major, of the US platforms, and not to the benefit of European works and European creators. So yes, indeed, I invite you to reach out to the MEPs that you may know in the different EU countries, and to tell them, well, we can do more for having more European films traveling online, being promoted online, but don't remove geo-blocking.
Thank you. It is a really orange alarm, not red alarm, regarding reblocking. Thank you very much for your explanation. We are speaking about cooperation. As I said, we, Serbia, Croatia, Montenegro, we are cooperating a lot and co-producing. The biggest partners are certainly countries from surroundings, but also we are co-producing with Turkey, with Latvia, which is probably strange. But speaking about everything has umbrella in European Convention for Cinematographic Co-Production. But Serbian Film Center Serbia, we signed agreement with the Memorandum of Understanding with CNC, and after that, when President Macron visited Serbia, the higher level of this memorandum was signed between two countries, and as a result of this, we chose 6 Serbian projects, wanna be co-produced with France. We presented them in CNC one cold day in November, a few years ago. Out of 6 projects, 3 they got French partners, and 1 received support, €250,000 project by Mirjana Karanović. France, you have many agreements, many memorandum of understanding, and you're very, very active in this field, because the cinema was invented, I am repeating, in France, but cinema does not exist only in France. But French touch is always present. Please.
Yes, indeed. I mean, the CNC has signed a lot of different co-production agreements with a lot of countries, and memorandum of, as you mentioned, and actually one last July, I mean, between the Ministry of Culture here and the CNC, to work on the structuration of the audiovisual field here. And a similar agreement has been signed last October with Albania. And it would bring, in fact, French expertise, I mean, to remodel what has to be remodeled in the different countries. So France has this tradition of cooperation from the very start, I would say, not only in cinema, but also because of its general promotion of diversity, which is really at the core of cultural policy in general. So, and as you mentioned also, since France has this huge tradition of cinemas and this position within the European Union, it's very easy to attract projects, to be attractive, and to deal with partnerships. So I know that those agreements are difficult to apply sometimes because of the conditions which are included in those agreements. I mean, technically wise and also financially wise. But this is something through my position, which is actually new. It didn't exist until a few months ago. We will try to develop in the next year so that there are more co-production based on the strong co-production traditions that exist in the Balkans, together with France.
Thank you. I think that we are closing slowly. I would like to mention that recently General Assembly in the EFAD, you chose board and 3 representatives in border from Southeast Europe, from Greece, from Slovenia and Croatia. Julie-Jeanne, thank you very much for joining us, and I wish you success in choosing the president, and good luck, and continue with your creative bureaucratic work. I didn't want to be bad. It's my compliment to you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Felicia. And thank you, Leticia, sorry. Frederic, thank you very much for being with us. I navigated. I think that I was not very bad.
No, not tricky questions.
Yes. Exactly. Thank you for the invitation so much.
We count on you in the future as well. That's why being tender is important. Thank you. Thank you, Julie-Jeanne. Thank you.
Thanks.